Hi everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel. Thank you so much for joining me, and if you're new, please do hit that subscribe button, and you can also become a member of the Toon Review as well if you hit that join button just underneath. Now this video is basically looking at players who are expected to leave Newcastle United, but also on the flip side of that, how difficult it's going to be. Now we know that Newcastle United need to offload some players. The squad is way too big at the moment if we're looking to overhaul it, so we're going to have to get players out of the door, but that's not going to be that easy. Now I've made a list here of the players that are possibly expected to leave this summer, but also how difficult it's going to be given the contracts, etc. So we'll start off with the goalkeepers. Now the goalkeepers, Karl Darlow, he's contracted to 2025. Now there has been talk about him going to Middlesbrough down the road, which is a big possibility. Middlesbrough certainly would be an ideal place for Karl Darlow to go. He'd certainly get first-team football there. And that's probably at his stage in his career what he wants to do now. He needs first-team football at his age. He'll not want to sit on the bench again. Now, he is a good goalkeeper. There's no doubt about that. He served us very well. He's made some very, very big saves and kept us in games under the Bruce regime, certainly, when we were really struggling back then. So I think a move for Karl Darlow would be good. But again, he's contracted for another 3 years. So wages, etc., are going to have to be worked out. How much would we realistically get for him? Could we ask for a decent price? All of this is going to be very difficult. Now, Gillespie as well. Now, I've heard that the club themselves like Gillespie as a third-choice goalkeeper. They like the way he conducts himself on and off the pitch. So he may not actually be leaving the club, because I think Eddie Howe and his backroom staff are very happy to keep Gillespie as a third goalkeeper. The only worry that they have is that, if we do get injuries to our main two goalkeepers, is he good enough for the Premier League? And given what we've seen from Gillespie in the past, we remember Newport in the Cup, it's not going to be that easy, is it? So, question mark still asked about Gillespie, definitely, but the club do value him as a third-choice goalkeeper. And finally, Freddie Woodman. Now, Freddie Woodman was touted as definitely the number one for the Newcastle United team in the future. However, it hasn't really worked out for Freddie Woodman. Last season, of course, he got a first-team opportunity and didn't grasp it. I think it all got too much for him. He made quite a few mistakes. He was then loaned out to Bournemouth, and that didn't work out either, because he was put onto the bench. He lost his place in the first team at Bournemouth. So really, it's gone quite low for Freddie Woodman in the past 12 months. He needs to get back to some sort of first-team football, I would imagine, to get his form back. But that's certainly not going to be with Newcastle United. Now, again, do we loan him out, or do we look for a permanent move? Now, reports have it that Freddie Woodman wants to leave on a permanent this time. He wants to go somewhere where he can concentrate on his career, build something with a club, and not have to sort of have the feeling that, I'm not really part of this, and go back to Newcastle United at the end of the season. It all depends on what Newcastle United's backroom staff and Eddie Howe think of him, but he would prefer a permanent move away. Now, again, what sort of valuation would you give Freddie Woodman, given that he's had a disastrous 12 months? It's not going to be easy to offload him either. Moving on to the defenders now, I've got Javier Manquio first of all, and his contract runs till 2024. Newcastle haven't really said that he's for sale, but I'm led to believe that they will consider bids. But again, he's got 2 years left on his contract. What do Newcastle United command as a transfer fee? I'm thinking probably around 10 to 15 million maybe for Javier Manquio. He's done a very, very good job for us, and certainly improved since he's been at the club. But again, is given Emil Kraft's finish to the season, and moving forward now with Trippier and Kraft there, I don't think he's going to get much of an opportunity now at right back. So again, he could possibly be leaving, but what kind of money would we ask for? And his wage is going to be a problem with Manquio. He's well paid at Newcastle United, and really with all this list that I've got here, wages are definitely going to be a problem for most of these players. Jamal Lewis, now he was brought in, of course, last season by Steve Bruce. He's contracted till 2025. Now, I don't think that Jamal Lewis is actually going to be leaving the club. And I say that because of the way Eddie Howe has spoken about him at the end of the season. He said he's looking forward to seeing Jamal come back for pre-season and seeing what he can actually do. Now, Jamal Lewis, for me, is a talent. He was mismanaged, clearly, by the previous regime, and, of course, wasn't included in the final 6 months of the season squad. So he's got a lot to do to get back into the reckoning, given that, Matty Targett came in, did a very good job. We know that Newcastle United are even, they're looking at Targett, or they're looking at Loddy now as well. So left back is a position that Newcastle United are openly looking for. Now, whether that worries Jamal Lewis at all, or whether he's got the confidence to come back and show Eddie Howe what he can do. Very interesting, but I'm led to believe that he will be back in the squad next season, certainly as a backup. Now, Matt Richie, he's contracted till 2023, and of course the big talking point with Matt Richie is he going to go back to Bournemouth? Because Bournemouth seems like the club that he's destined to finish his career at. He had a wonderful time there before he came to Newcastle United. He's done brilliantly for us. Nobody can deny that. He's had a fantastic career at Newcastle United and very, very well thought of with the fans. There is no doubt about that. So Matt Richie would go with a big thank you from the Newcastle fans. Nobody can deny that either. But will he go back to Bournemouth? Is wages going to be a difficulty for Bournemouth? I'm not so sure. I think Matt Richie would take a pay cut to go back to Bournemouth, maybe play a bit of first-team football as well under Scotty Parker, and then go from there. Maybe end up in a coaching role somewhere. Now, Kieran Clark, this is a difficult one because Clark is contracted for another year at Newcastle United. He's openly stated that he wants a permanent move if he was to leave Newcastle United. A loan deal would be no good for him. He was rumoured to be going to Middlesbrough last January window on loan, but that never materialised. Now, whether Middlesbrough is still an option for Kieran Clark, we are yet to see. But one thing that may be a stumbling block is, again, wages for Kieran Clark. Do people want to pay a decent amount of money every week for Kieran Clark? Or is he at the end of his career? Or is the Championship probably where he's going to, excel still? And I'm thinking probably. But again, what does Newcastle United command as a transfer fee? We can't really ask too much for Kieran Clark. I'm thinking maybe even 5 million, if that. But Kieran Clark's certainly one that could be one of the first out the door. Now, the captain, Jamal Lascelles. This has been a major talking point for a while. Personally, I don't think he's good enough anymore for the Premier League. He's let go. He played really well under Rafa, but since then, for me, it's been all downhill for Jamal Lascelles. Good tackler, yes, but he cannot bring the ball out of defence. And the way Eddie Howe wants to play football, he needs to have defenders, certainly centre-backs, that are confident bringing the ball out of the 18-yard box and are good passers. Jamal Lascelles isn't that. He just is not a passer. His distribution is very, very poor when he brings it out of defence. Everybody knows that. And I think, the rumour is going around that he's, Forest are interested in him again. And I can see that move happening. He's got 2 years left on his contract. So valuation for Jamal Lascelles, I'm thinking maybe 10 to 15 million. Is he worth more than that, or is he worth less than that? What is the going rate for a defender that's, he's a good tackler, he's a good header of the ball, but sometimes his positional play is woeful and his distribution is even more woeful. So, but Forest would be a club that I could see him going back to. He knows the club. They're back in the Premier League now, so we would still get Premier League football. But it all depends. Does Eddie Howe want to actually get rid of the club captain? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. He's never spoke about it. Now, Federico Fernandez is another one. Seemed to just disappear into the wilderness at Newcastle United. He really has. For me, he came on in that Norwich game when Clark was sent off, and he was absolutely superb alongside Fabian Schär. He really was. But he was never seen again. Now, Eddie Howe and the coaching staff have all said that there isn't a problem with Federico Fernandez. He's a very, very good player. But at his age now, he's going to want first-team football. He's not going to want to be in the just on the substitutes bench every week and not get on. It's just not what he wants to do. But the problem, again, with Federico Fernandez is wages. He's on a very, very good wage at Newcastle United. Are another Premier League team going to want to pay the big bucks for Federico Fernandez, given his age? I'm not so sure. For me, maybe a move into Europe, one of the French leagues, the French league or Spanish league, somewhere like that, maybe even Germany, one of the sort of mid-table teams there, to get first-team football. Or does he drop down into the Championship? If he wanted to stay in England, the Championship. For me, do I think he's still a Premier League defender? Absolutely. I do. But the wages he's on, I can't see many Premier League teams paying those kind of wages for him unless he's willing to take a pay cut. But at the end of the day, it's all going to be down to the player. Because if I was him, I'd know that my future wasn't with Newcastle United, and it would be time to move on and look for another club. But where? That remains to be seen. Now, Kellen Watts. This is a guy who I rate very, very highly. He's a young kid, and he's coming through. He came through the academy, and he's been on loan the last couple of seasons. Did excellently at Plymouth when he was on loan there, and he's had a fantastic season with Wigan. Now, is this the opportunity that Eddie Howe brings him in and looks at him in pre-season, or does he go back out on another loan? I know he's well thought of at the club. For me, give him the opportunity. Give him the opportunity in pre-season to see what he can do. And if he's not part of Eddie Howe's plans early doors, and Eddie thinks in another year on loan will do him the power of good, then send him out back on loan. As long as we've got decent cover. You know, we know that we're going to try and bring in a centre-back, and it has to be decent cover. Excuse me. So that remains to be seen, but I think Kellen Watts should be given a go in pre-season without a shadow of a doubt. Now, onto the midfield. Isaac Hayden. This is the one that is particularly going to be difficult in my eyes. He's contracted until 2026. So he's got 4 years left on a contract. And we know that he's wanting to leave. He gave that indication on social media when he said his goodbyes. You know, no matter where I'm playing, Newcastle United will always be in my heart. For me, that means he wants to go or he's going. But the problem is, what sort of fee do you command for Isaac Hayden, who's been injured a lot recently? You know, teams aren't going to be wanting to pay big bucks for a guy that's been sitting on the sidelines for quite some time, with, let's be honest, quite serious injuries. So, I'm not sure what he would command. I really don't know. But whatever we do get for him will obviously be a bonus, and probably a bonus to Isaac Hayden as well. So I think wherever he goes, he certainly wished the best of luck from Newcastle United fans. He's had a good career here, and he's done a very, very good job for us. But, you know, I would say that he's still Premier League, definitely Premier League class. Maybe not sort of top six class, but certainly mid-table. So, you know, you're kind of looking at the mid-table teams thinking, right, who would take Isaac Hayden on? You know, he's going to have options, but I think at the end of the day, he wants to be back down south, doesn't he? Which is fair enough. You know, he wanted that a couple of seasons ago, but Newcastle gave him a new contract, and he honoured that, and he's been a brilliant professional. Never once complained, never once sort of slagged anybody off. He's just got on with his job. So consummate professional for me, and I wish him the best of luck should he move. Now, Jeff Hendrick, the forgotten Irish Messi, he's got another 2 years on his contract, guys. Still got 2 years left. Now, remember, he came in as a free transfer, so he's on a big, big wage. Now, this is where the stumbling block with Jeff Hendrick is going to be, because do you think he's Premier League class? I certainly don't. I think a Championship team would be the best way for him to go. However, the Championship is not going to pay the wages that Jeff Hendrick is on at the moment. So do we just look as a club and say, right, let's loan Jeff Hendrick out on a 2-year loan to somebody? You know, we can pay some of his wages and then just see his contract out that way. Would that be better than trying to get... Because, let's be honest, who's going to pay for Jeff Hendrick? Who's going to buy Jeff Hendrick? Not many out there will buy him and pay the wages that he's on. That is a huge stumbling block to get rid of Jeff Hendrick. So for me, a loan deal would seem the best option for Newcastle and for the player himself. And certainly if he went to the Championship, then a team would certainly look at that and think, right, well, as long as Newcastle United are covering some of his wages, it's an option for us. But that's a huge stumbling block. And then there's Matty Longstaff, who's got a year left on his contract. For me, I think the club just loan him out for another season. let his contract run down, and then Matty finds himself another club. I don't think he's got a future at Newcastle United, which is a shame because there was definite potential there. But the players that we're looking to bring in, he's going to be way down the pecking order at Newcastle. He's not going to get them first-team opportunities that maybe he thought he would, which is unfortunate, as I say, because he's a Geordie lad. He loves the club. But for his own career, I think he has to look to move on. And for me, another loan, run down his contract and wish him the best of luck from there. Now, the forwards, we've got Maggie Almeron, who people say that is he leaving, is he not leaving? Certainly the word we're getting is that he doesn't want to leave Newcastle United. He wants to stay. He wants to work for his place. Eddie Howe is a big fan of Miguel Almiron and wants to work with him. Now, for me, that would be fine if certainly Eddie Howe can transform the somebody like Almiron, like he has Joe Linton. You know, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it, really? You've seen the improvement that he's made in certain individuals. Can he do the same with Miggy? That is the big question. Time will tell, but his agent has come out and said that there is a £60 million release clause in his contract. Now, let's be honest here, guys. Nobody's going to pay £60 million for Miguel Almiron. With the stats that he's shown, his assists, his goals since he's been at the club, they're nowhere near what they should be. Yes, he's fantastic for an international level, but club level, he just hasn't done it. He's been there. There's been glimpses in a few games of what he can do, but at the same time, nobody is going to pay a £60 million release clause for Miguel Almiron. It's as simple as that. So I think he might be around next season. Now, Jacob Murphy's another one who people have been touting to leave the club. He's contracted till 2027. So you can see here, the previous regime just dishing out contracts willy-nilly, not even thinking of the consequences of the length of these contracts, because, of course, the new owners have come in and now looking at these contracts thinking, what the hell was the club thinking? We've just disgrace, really, at some of these contracts. Now, Jacob Murphy, for me, is a very good player. And from what I'm reading and getting reported is that, he's wanting to be around next season and the club want him around as backup next season. Now, is Jacob Murphy going to be wanting to be a backup, or at this stage of his career, his age, is he going to be wanting first-team football? Could he get it anywhere else in the Premier League? Yes, I think he can. But from what I've heard, they want him around next season as part of the squad. And I wouldn't complain at that. I think Jacob Murphy can still do a job, and certainly in the cups and things like that, get starts, and then Premier League wise, he's certainly an impact to have on the bench. And finally, Dwight Gayle, the man, the mystery, the enigma that is Dwight Gayle. He's contracted till 2024, so he still has another 2 years on his contract. For me, he's not a Premier League striker anymore, is he? I mean, let's be honest. The best he can hope for is a championship team. Now, again, championship, wages are going to be a problem because he's got 2 years left on his contract and he is not going to want to see that money go floating down the river. He's on big money at Newcastle United. Very good money. And he is not going to want to throw that away. This is where the problem lies with Dwight Gayle, trying to find him a new club. Do we again send him out on loan so we cover some of the wages, but we get the majority off the books? Is that an option? Because at the minute, who is going to buy Dwight Gayle and put him on the wages he's on, especially in the Championship? There's nobody going to be covering those sort of wages. It's ludicrous to think that, Dwight Gayle himself will know that he can't get those kind of wages in the Championship. And that's where the problem lies with Dwight Gayle. It's not as easy as just shipping him out. So that's my list. But, when you go down the list and you think, wow, we do need to offload some players, it isn't going to be that easy. It's not as simple as just saying, oh, right, out the door you go. We've got to rely on other clubs coming in and paying money. We've got to rely on other clubs accepting wage demands of these players. It's not going to be very easy at all. Now, we have spoke about on previous shows that maybe the best alternative we have is to pay off these contracts. Pay some of them off and make these players free agents where they can, sign for another club as a free agent and get a healthy signing on bonus, and which will cover some of the wages they'll lose. Are we a club that is going to do that? We know we've got the money to do that. And would that be a better option than, having these players sitting on their asses for another couple of years, earning thousands of pounds a week for doing nothing? And if these players had any sort of ambition, then surely they'd want to move on and get first-team football, especially most of them at their age will want that. Or you'd think they'd want that, being professional footballers. So time is going to tell on that, guys. It's going to be very, very interesting. But let me know in the comments down below what you think. Who do you think is going to be first out the door? Are valuations and wages going to be a problem? And is it that simple, just getting these players out the door? Because I don't think it's going to be. I think we face a very, very hard task over the summer, clearing out some of the dead wood. I really do. Because of the stupid, ridiculous contracts they were given by the previous regime without even thinking. So it's interesting. I'm very interested to hear what you guys have got to say in the comments below. But thank you very much for watching the video. As I say, if you have enjoyed it, do smash the like buttons up for me. Let YouTube know that something good is happening on this channel. And also, if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please do hit the subscribe button. Lots of recorded shows and live shows coming up over the summer as well. We're not going anywhere. We're going to keep you informed. We don't deal in rumours. We will bring you reports of players signing when it's official, because there's too many out there at the minute just sort of saying, oh, welcome to Newcastle, this, and this, and they haven't even signed yet. So for me, on this channel, we'll talk about it when it's official, so we know that we've got the player and we can look forward to the player being at Newcastle United, rather than just having a rumour mill going around all the time. It's pointless. But do join the channel if you wish as well, become a member, and now you can actually donate to the channel for recorded videos as well. There is a thanks button just underneath the video with a $sign next to it. If you want to donate to the channel, please hit that thanks button, and I really do appreciate that in advance. Thank you for your kindness. But that's it. Keep your eye open for transfer shows this week and any latest news from Newcastle United when we go live. But in the meantime, guys, be kind. Take care.